Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another fantastic edition with Sitback with Shaq and Anu. Unfortunately, Anu is still not with us on the show, but he's promised that he will get himself back up and running and back on the show once again on Monday. But it's Thursday right here, coming to you live on, of course, Channel 1 Dialogue TV and also on our social media platforms on PodHub, on YouTube. You can watch us and be a part of the show. As always, fantastic guests on the show every single day, Monday to Thursday we've been having on the show with us, and we've always been talking to individuals on topics that are trending in Sri Lanka at the moment. And we have another great guest in the studio with us, lots to talk about. Nadeeka Jayasinghe, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Shaq.
And thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So we have a lot to talk about community meal share, something that is great that's actually happening in Sri Lanka at the moment. We're going to get into all those details. But as always on the show, at the beginning of the show, we have a poll that we do, and the poll is usually on the subject or the topic that we are discussing on the show. So today, of course, we're going to get into the daily poll. Remember, you can be a part of it. All the details coming up right after this. Thanks so much, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the show. It's time for us to get into the poll for the show today. And this is the poll that's appearing on your screen. Do community meal shares strengthen the community? Yes or no? Pretty much straightforward answer there. Yes or no? Do community meal shares strengthen the community? Yes or no? WhatsApp your answers to that number 077 669 1590. 077 669 1590. Everybody is actually watching us on Channel 1 on Dialogue TV and also on our social media platforms on YouTube of PodHub. Thanks so much for being a part of the show. Let's get straight into the conversation. Nadeeka, thank you once again for being a part of the show. Community meal share, which you are a co-founder of. Tell us more about it. How did you start? What made you come up with this idea? And where are we right now with community meal share?
So with community meal share, around early March, I think you can agree that things started to take a turn. Well, things started to take a turn in Sri Lanka maybe last year.
Yeah.
But around March, we kind of understood the reality of the situation. And you could just see how, certain communities, and not communities too far away from us, very close to us, were struggling with the current crisis. So, my partner and I, we just decided to put some money together and, just to go and support communities with meals. And we only had 6,000 rupees, which
Right.
really didn't buy us much.
Right.
But then, and my partner's got a heart of gold, and his heart's in the right place. He's like, let's just try it out.
Right.
And let's just ask people on social media, listen, are there people who need food? And that was a big risk, as you can imagine, because this is Sri Lanka. It's an economic crisis. Yes, there are people who require food. So then we posted on Facebook, our own Facebook and Twitter accounts, and it was worrying. But rather than people saying, "Hey, listen, people need food over here and there," everyone was just like, "All right, how can we donate?"
Wow.
And it was just, within, say, 2 or 3 weeks, it just blew up. And everyone was just calling. And it was almost like Sri Lankans just really wanted to support each other, which is good. It was very positive. So then I thought, okay, maybe we'll make a few social media accounts. We'll update people with what we're doing with their money. It wasn't really, we never planned on having a community meal share trust, which is what we have right now. So initially we just went into small communities. We didn't know what we were doing at first, but we just wanted to help people. And then then we started just asking people, over the next few weeks, look, who needs help? And it could be from like a three-wheel uncle, it could be from a shop owner, and they would say, okay, in this area or this vatta, we have like 200 people, we have 50 families, whatever. And then, we just started to put everything into a chart. And that's where my friend Fazina comes in. So she's also a trustee. We have a trust now. Myself, my partner Gayan, and Fazina. And she's extremely organized, and she puts me into place.
Oh, she is.
Yeah, so she's very organized. She's good with Excel. I'm not. So she put everything together. She said, look, this is what you're going to do. And it's really good to have her and Gayan there, because I can be a bit of a dreamer, and I'm like, no, we have to feed this many people, and she's like, yeah, you don't have enough money. So that's really how it started. And it started and we couldn't stop, because number one is because people were just, throwing in money. And number two was that Sri Lanka just kept on getting worse. Since March, everything just went downhill, as you know. So we just kept on going. And we've come to a place now where we're supporting about 15 communities in and around Colombo. We do have outstation communities, very volunteer dependent. We are supporting close to 20 schools, 20 primary schools in Colombo, Badula and Jaffna. And we're supporting 2 hospitals, so the Nigambo Dialysis Ward and the National Institute of Mental Health. And we're also signing up with Apeksha very soon. So we've come far, quite far, and there's a lot that has been done.
In about 6 months?
Probably less than that.
Less than that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you identify the most vulnerable communities? How do you communicate to them that you are coming to their neighborhood? How does that work?
So in Sri Lanka, so the thing is, you don't have to go too far, which is very unfortunate, right? You don't have to go and look for people that require support. But what we do is we generally identify a community leader, and that could be through someone we know. It could be someone that works very closely with us, or a Grama Sevaka, or someone like that. And then we would give that responsibility to them, which gives them that, it gives them that leadership position as well. And we're very grassroots oriented, which means that we want to make sure that there's proper community consultation. We see what they need. It's not just giving a packet or a meal and walking away.
Exactly.
There's more that we could do. It's very decentralized too, so we make sure that we go into these communities. But we generally work with like a community leader at some point. So during Ramadan, so Fazina would consult a leader, say in Mavanella or Trinco. We'd have like massive kanji kitchens. We would consult the leaders of the mosque. So like that, we just find someone who has a bit of authority and can get us numbers. Of course, there's a bit of bias sometimes. They might look after their people, but there's no judgment with that as well, because it's food,
At the end of the day, you just want to make sure that as many people are fed as much as possible. Now, how does this work, Nadeeka? I mean, do you actually, do you cook on site, or do you bring the meal there and hand it to them? How does this work?
We tried a few things that, initially it was, we first got, just meals, rice packets. And one of our very close friends was cooking for us. I can't cook, neither can my partner, neither can Fazina actually.
So it's a great combination of actually giving food to people for 3 people who don't cook.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic, great.
Brains, right? So we got somebody just to cook for us, one of my very close friends again. And then we also tried kitchens, which you probably would have seen on social media. They have these kitchens, but the kitchens were just a lot of work. And so, hats off to anyone who's doing a kitchen, because I know, the work that you guys are putting in is amazing. But there's a lot of logistical issues surrounding these kitchens and cost as well. So we now have like very, people who have been struggling to keep their businesses alive. We'd get them to come in as suppliers, and we can give a packet of rice for like 250 to 300, a pretty decent one as well. Sometimes we give bread and dal, so it could look after more than one person. So we have people just supporting us. So we try to support the businesses around us as well.
So you actually buy from them at a certain
Yeah.
price,
Yes.
and then you distribute to
Yeah.
the community.
Yeah.
Have you tried cooking on site? Have you tried cooking on site and having the community to come and help you with the whole arrangement, so to say?
We've not tried, but we have had this discussion as well. Again, there's so many logistical issues surrounding that, and also, I mean, I do want to try it, but I am a full-time work, and I always worry about the supervision.
Right.
Because you're looking at rations, you're looking at people, do they want a salary? You're looking at accountability because it's not our money. It's not just about going into a community and saying, all right, now you can, cook for yourselves and feed everyone. There's a lot surrounding that. Certainly, it would also make our lives easier because we wouldn't have to go there, that many times. But as much as I'd love to try that, maybe 6 months from now we
Right.
could try that. Yeah, we'd have to look into the costings and everything.
Yeah, it is a bit of a nightmare, isn't it? I mean, it's
Yeah.
nice on paper,
Yeah.
but once you dive into it, you don't realize what
Yeah.
you've actually got yourself into.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of trust that goes into
Yes,
the process,
yes.
You're assuming that, 50 kilos of rice and 50 kilos of dal or whatever is actually going to go to the right people. And unless there's strict supervision, as much as I'd love to trust everyone around me, unless there's a lot of supervision, it's, you're playing a very dangerous game with other people's money.
Right, right. We're just basically going to get into some of the other questions that we have for you that, of course, Community Meal Share has been around. Lots of people want to be a part of it. We'll find out more details on how you can actually get in touch with Nadeeka and the Community Meal Share team. We also have some pictures of some good stuff that they've actually been doing. We're going to get into that also. But if you've got any questions for Nadeeka and, of course, the team, you can always drop us a message on our WhatsApp number. There you have it, 077 669 1590, and be more than happy to have the answers for you live on Channel 1 Dialogue TV. Nadeeka, what's the strategy here in terms of feeding the community? Is it you choose a neighborhood, you go ahead and distribute food for them, and then you move away from that, or does that still continue?
Yeah, we try to provide weekly meals for each community.
Wow.
So that they know that, say, for example, maybe on a Monday night, they don't need to worry about their dinner.
Nice.
Right? Which adds a lot of stress when you've got a lot of communities.
That's right.
Right? So with our communities, we try to provide weekly meals. With our school meals, we have these primary schools in Jaffna, Badula and Colombo that we're supporting. And Dr. Tara Dimel, former
Right.
Secretary of Education, she's supporting us. She's been fantastic. So what we do there is that we provide 2 meals a week to the students. And it's really lovely because we get the parents to come in, they cook. So there's a lot of accountability, and they do it with so much love as
Right.
well. And we provide the funding, and if they're Colombo schools, we'll drop off the rations as well. So there's many ways that we do it. And with hospitals as well, we look at now, say, for instance, at the Angoda Hospital,
Right.
we would provide protein twice a week, so eggs and things like that. Because with the current crisis, the hospitals are doing a fantastic job, but we understand that sometimes the Ministry of Health also would struggle with funding, especially with eggs. An egg is like 42 rupees right now. So we provide, food high in protein to them.
So now, in terms of the finances, obviously when you're talking about providing food, clearly you need a good support structure,
Yeah.
right? How does the finances come to you? How do you appeal to the public to actually help you out? What are the ways that you go ahead and do it?
It's really interesting because until, I was just having a chat to one of my friends, we have never really sent out a request asking for funds, which, for me, I think we're extremely blessed.
Yeah, that's great.
That is one thing. I think this entire project has been blessed. We've never had to ask. In fact, sometimes when I get donations now, I'm like, hey, there's someone else maybe that you could support, another charity. But we've had collaborations, and we've had people kind of fundraise on our behalf. So a majority of our funds come from social media. We do a lot of awareness, but though it's not fundraising, we post photos and everything. So on Twitter and Facebook, we've got a lot of awareness. We've also had a lot of foreign donors, and that's fantastic because it's helping the country as well. But we've never really done active fundraising, really.
So at any time has there been an issue for you and a bit of an apprehension, say, hey, what happens if our funding runs out? What's going to happen, or how long? I mean, what's your plan?
I feel that we're there now, only because we're getting bigger and we're expanding. And I'm a nurse, I'm not a financial consultant. So I always worry about the next 6 months. You know, feeding students in close to 20 schools is huge. And I keep telling myself, look, it's almost like, because it's schools, we can't stop. You know, the schools were getting 30 rupees per student previously. And, you know, we've managed to just bring in funds so that we can give them a nutritious meal. And to have to stop it would be very difficult. So now I think, look, in the next 6 months, you might actually see us doing fundraisers. But I'm also very confident
but there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong in doing, because clearly your project is out there. It's been proven in the last 6 months. Everyone knows exactly what you're doing. And getting into fundraising for this project, there's really nothing wrong about it.
And look, also, you may have seen Roshan Mahanama's with us as well. So he's our brand ambassador.
Roshan, if you're watching, I really do have a big bone to pick with you, and you know why.
Yes, Roshan, you're going to have to come and sit here as well. I think. Otherwise, I'm in trouble. So when he's, you know, when he posts something, we get a lot of funds as well. Which is really helpful. And we also formed, you know, previously it was just me, you know, with my account, and now it's, you know, we've got a trust, and obviously there is a lot of trust by having the trust. So I think in the next 6 months to 1 year, you'll probably see a lot of fundraising.
That's great. So we're going to actually take a look at some of the pictures that the Community Meal Share, of course, have, the work that they have been doing, which is on your screen right now. There you go. So many fantastic, so many great pictures. There's Roshan Mahanama right there. He's played an active role, hasn't he? It's been a huge role. We'll get into that in just a few minutes. And the first picture that you see there with meals served, is that for a community, or is that for a school, or how?
That's a school.
That's a school.
So, if you go through my phone, you're going to have like about 20 of them. It's so beautiful. So what the principals do is they take photos and they send it to us every day. It's just something, you know, it just keeps us going as well. Really. And
the second picture there, that is like, looks like a family is just about to sit down.
So we have a community in Trincomalee in Kenya. So there's 5 neighborhoods that we're supporting right now. So what we get, we have contacts there. So we actually get families to cook for us. And then they distribute it around the neighborhood.
And of course, that's a fair amount of eggs that's been actually donated.
So we drop off about 1,000 eggs, more than that, a week to Angola Hospital. And we do yoga drives and things like that too.
That's great. Also, you've actually covered a fair amount as far as Sri Lanka is concerned. If you take a look at the places that Community Meal Share has sort of already got their foothold into, it's coming up on your screen. We've got a map there. That's a fair amount. So, am I reading that right? Is that 38,164 community meals already provided?
Yes, since mid-March.
Since mid-March. And 15,000 school meals.
Since June.
Since June. Okay. So you're obviously you're concentrating pretty much close to Colombo, Kandy, around that area. Obviously, you do have plans of expanding to as many places as you possibly can.
I mean, we'd love to, but it's also got to do with finding volunteers, you know. again, it goes back to accountability as well.
Right.
You know, and maybe it's just me and my trust issues, but like,
My
you know,
trust issues.
you know, I just need to be around where it all happens. And then there's proper monitoring and evaluation as well. I would love to go, you know, further maybe to the east and the southern coast as well.
Right.
Perhaps in the future.
Okay. Let's talk about something which is not controversial, but something that, of course, not many people really talk about. You're talking about a vulnerable community who would appreciate you coming and handing them food, etc. Considering the current situation right now, there are a fair amount of mid-level families, mid-income families, who would not like to necessarily be called vulnerable, but they are also going through one meal a day because of the current situation. How do you approach them? Because they're not going to come to you.
Yeah.
How do you work that out?
So this is where the community leader really plays a part. Hey, you should come with us on one of our meal drives.
I will.
You should, really.
I will.
So what they do is, you know, so let's assume that they, I don't know, they just find a place in Maradana.
Right.
We have a community in Maradana. It's interesting because when we go to deliver food, it's a token system. So the leader would say, the community leader would find like 54 families or whatever, 60 families, and they'd all come with a token. So, you know, someone will come with like, you know, they'd need 4 meals and we put it into their bag and send them off. It's interesting because I know some people in there. So
wow.
from the industry as well, because my industry is in healthcare.
Right.
That's why we have very strict protocols for maintaining confidentiality. We never post a photo of a meal recipient, ever. Never of a child, nothing. Because you're right, it is the mid-level income families now that are being affected. English speaking, thank you so much, you know. And it, you know, you still have to visit these communities.
Right.
And if that means, you know, just taking the burden away for once a week, you know, for us, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and it's very tricky, isn't it? Because they are not someone who openly would like to come to you, nor would they want anyone knowing that they're going through a situation like this.
Yeah.
And some of them also can, you know, not very receptive to it either. I mean, it's very dicey.
It's very dicey, and you know, we went on this meal run with Roshan Mahanama one day, and this girl came up to me and said, because she's been following Roshan,
Right.
said, "Thank you for not posting the photos."
Right.
And I thought, oh, thank God, we've done something right. You know, like that was really good. And look, we just have to keep on doing this, and it is very difficult because what we see now is a different type of desperate behavior,
Right.
which we never saw maybe 5 years ago. Sri Lankans would never come and run and ask for food.
Yeah.
You know, they wouldn't. We've had times when we've gone into a community, and look, certain communities suffer from drug and alcoholic issues, and we've had issues certain times when they would fight for the bread. They would rip the bread in two. Two people would.
Wow.
You know, my partner, I laugh because I like laughing at him, but he was very traumatized because they were pulling it out of his hand.
Right.
We've not seen this before. And that's really sad.
You know what the sad thing when you mention is the fact that this is something that we've seen in documentaries in Africa.
Yeah.
You know, when you see the UN truck that comes there, you've
yeah.
got the African, you've got the unfortunates who are basically there, and but you never thought you would see something like that at home.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that because we've had, I don't know if this is controversial, oh well, we've had journalists who have wanted to follow us into these communities, and I'm wondering if they really wanted that African picture, which I won't give up, of course.
Right,
but, you know, and it's so important to protect our communities
Exactly.
like that. But it is that sheer desperate behavior. You know, we've gone into communities sometimes when they've had power cuts.
Right.
And we bring the food, and it's pitch dark, and there's like 12 torches, so they know that we're coming, and that's, I mean, for us, that's, you know, that's perfect. I mean, we love, you know, it's so lovely that they think that we could support them, you know.
And you're doing it on a constant basis.
Yeah.
How often do you do this? I mean, you're working.
Yeah. This week I took a break.
Oh, this week you took a break.
Yeah, no, like I just sent the food to the communities. I didn't go.
Right.
What I generally do is with the fuel crisis, we get the food sent now in a big, like a 3-wheeler or a truck.
Right.
And then I'd get on my bike and I'd go. Just this week, I just called Fazina, Gayan and Roshana. I was like, I can't. And Fazina looks after the Vellavata side, so she looks after that side. And my partner, he's in Maradana, so he looks after that side too.
Right.
But it has come to a point where now we're doing weekly meal runs. And we've also partnered with Colombo Urban Lab, and they're looking after, they've funded, and also they're taking care of some communities in Sivalipura and Vanathamulla side.
Right.
So that's 4 times a week. So we have that 4 times a week, and in addition to that, we have at least another 6 or 7 happening.
So how do you guys, try and, balance work and community life? How's that? Because I'm sure all of you are doing your day jobs.
Yeah, so my partner's going through exams right now. Fazina's had a few family concerns. I am a full-time worker. I mean, we just manage it. So I don't have kids and I'm not married, so I just feel that, maybe everyone else doesn't have the bandwidth, so I can kind of just, go around and support people. And, when I can't, my partner or Fazina will pick up, and take it from there. It's a lot of work. We're very lucky to have Roshan as well, because he's just like, all right, send us your meal calendar, let's do this.
Okay, what does Roshan do?
Roshan,
apart from being your brand ambassador, right, which is a huge thing, of course, that also takes it out to the community.
Yeah.
Everyone understands. Look, Roshan is a trusted individual for many, many years, and he's not going to partner with anybody unless he's completely convinced that this is going to work. Yeah. Right? So that helps you a lot.
Yeah, it gives us credibility.
Yeah.
Also, when he posts on social media, we get a few donations. But also, look, we used to go to the fuel queues with Roshan, and we'd serve tea and buns and all that, and you'd get these guys come and take selfies with him. And I always think it's just that, even if it's just 5 minutes of, hey, there's someone who's this famous personality who actually cares about us,
Right.
And every community that we go to, they're running and they're like, Roshan sir is here and everything, and he's just so humble. Yeah. And he can speak to them really well, and we leave, and I feel that they feel better when after, so for me that's really nice. If he was full of himself and opposite to everything he is right now, I probably wouldn't be so excited about this, but it's really good to have him on board.
Apart from the fact that he's been sidestepping me for 1 month.
Yeah, exactly.
That is something that, they're full of himself.
Guilty, I know.
Guilty.
We need to, there are people who can't stay up at, be awake at 10 p.m. Shaq,
That's the biggest problem. Everybody watching, that's the biggest problem. Yeah. Roshan, I've been in constant touch with Roshan Mahanama, and it seems like that his bedtime is 7:30.
Yeah, well, some of us sleep at 8, don't judge.
Right, okay, so tell us now your school drives.
Yes.
When did that spark happen? Because you were concentrating on communities. Yeah. When did you suddenly decide, so listen, schools?
So I hope my mother's watching, because I never say nice things about her. So you better be watching. So my mother actually collected some funds for a school. My parents, I am originally from Kalutara as well. So my father's from this very underprivileged. He went to this school in Payagala, Kalutara, and my mother collected some funds from my family and said, look, we'll start some school meals there. And it was just lovely. So she started that, and I'm so proud of her because she's 60-odd years old. I should know this, 65, 66. She's got a pacemaker, and she just does things weekly. So she goes and supports 3 schools in that area. And then I thought, okay, and it breaks my heart, it just breaks my heart, because she comes home and she's like, okay, look, there's just so many things that have happened, and these kids don't get food, and apparently parents have come to her and said, look, can you do this every week, or can you do it twice a week, and one parent had come to her and said, I'm just so happy that one child gets fed now, right?
Right.
So then I thought, okay, this is a really good idea. So I tweeted, of course, and I said, can someone get me into schools? And then I guess someone has read it, contacted Dr. Tara DeMel. Next thing I know, she sent me an email and she's like, let's work together.
Wow.
So yeah, so we that's how we got together. We work with the zonal directors of the Ministry of Education and the principals. And she's currently overlooking Jaffna, Badul, and Colombo with us. But on top of that, she's doing another great project called Rise Up with Avaya Research, headed by Mr. Vijitha Nanayakar, and they're fantastic too. And they're looking after at least 10,000 other students around Sri Lanka.
Wow.
Kegol, Hambantota, Monragala, all of that. So that's how it started. And there's strict monitoring and evaluation. It's so good to be able to work with the ministry as well, because we can actually get in there. We have donors who are going in there and into the schools just to see what else they need. So it's not just providing meals. It's just to make sure that, we're okay. Everyone's going to be okay.
Right. Now, basically, tell us a bit about yourself. I mean, we've been talking about what you've been doing. What do you do?
So I am a nurse by background. I am an ICU nurse. I've been an ICU nurse for about 12 years.
Okay.
Not in Sri Lanka, in Australia.
Right.
And I came to Sri Lanka. Well, I worked as an ICU. It's a long story.
By all means.
Is nursing fun? I don't know.
I don't know. You tell me. Make it fun.
Yeah. So I came to Sri Lanka about 7 years ago, and for a holiday, and then my mother's like, hey, I can find you a job. I was like, okay. So, at first I was like, yeah, okay. So then I got into nursing education. And I've been in that for the last 7 years. I'm heading the nursing department at Horizon campus in Malabar.
Right.
And it's a great place to work. So I've been, in the last 7 years, I've just been working alongside nurses, private sector and state sector nurses, supporting them with education, empowering them, giving them that, research and things like that, which they might want to learn.
How are you going to, balance your work and your community? Because what you've created here is not something that is just going to lie down. It's just going to grow every week, and you exactly know where you are right now from where you were 6 months ago. It's huge.
Yeah.
So you know for a fact that this is going to be bigger. How's the balance going to take place?
I'm still figuring that out.
Right.
Actually, 2 days before you called me, I was on the phone to my cousin saying, look, I think, I think, like, how, do I need to Google how to scale down? Because, it's getting a bit too much. But, I mean, I do have long-term plans for community meal share, and probably a plan which doesn't involve me being at the top.
Right.
Or, and obviously Guyan and Fazina are there too when, they could do it, or maybe someone else could come and take over operations they'd have to be as naive as I am, I suppose. But obviously not for a salary. We don't take salaries. We don't do that. I personally would like to focus on one community and make the community grow, like, say, Vanathamulla, And I have plans for that. And I, have English classes, just look after one little thing while someone else just helps the charity grow. I just feel that if we can get at least 3 or 4 people out of each community, send them overseas, the community will do well. So I just feel that my time on Excel is really taking that away.
Right. So what is your goal? I mean, like you said, you've got challenge. I mean, you've got certain ideas that you want to achieve. What's your goal with Community Meal Share now?
The goal is to maintain that grassroots level work. Not to go at that higher level where we're just throwing funding, into certain areas. Grassroots is so important because then it's not just meals you're providing. We were going to have a small, like a teach out very recently in Vanathamulla, which we couldn't because of the fuel crisis, where we get youth together and have an employment day, give them hope, get them out of the place. There's so much drug and alcoholic issues around that side. We got Rotaract Club to come and put some books in there, so we want to build a library. So the goal is not just to give meals. There has to be empowerment. And that is the goal. Empowerment is the goal. Meals are just a way to get in there.
You do realize this is a full-time job, right?
I do realize
You
that.
do. I mean, what you're talking about and the challenges and the goals that you want to achieve, It's a full-time job.
I know. Yeah, I know. I better pay for my therapy. But it's been a lot of work, but it's just been really fulfilling as well.
Yeah. And you don't realize it.
Yeah, and then every time you go and you come back from a community, you're just thinking, God, maybe we could do this, we could do that. Like, you just come up with all these ideas. There are so many challenges, though, including, obviously, challenges of the heart, because you see so much devastation. Like I've been an ICU nurse for 12 years. You've seen suffering, and I've had my own personal issues with myself and with illness. But when I see this is like a constant struggle. There's like a collective struggle, and I think that should make not just me, but a lot of people just want to do more.
What is the one thing that's actually stood out for you during the last 6 months of the community meal share? What is that one thing that's actually melted your heart, which you will never forget?
I'm going to give you two things.
Go
only
for
because
it.
a negative thing which really broke me one day, and I thought, God, I'm done with this. Which
Right.
is probably not how it
That
should
was
be.
actually going to be another question,
Yeah.
but it's great. So,
I had a negative and a positive thing. So the negative thing was that where we had this token system and we were distributing food, and and I'm just saying normal because I don't have a proper word for it, and very, not underprivileged looking child. Like a very, it's very superficial when I say this, but his
Right.
child comes and they were crossing the road and we were giving food to people with tokens, and he comes running and he's like, Miss Madabadagini, right? And I thought, oh, okay. And then the mother came, she was very shy, and I thought, okay. Because if that was my mother, she'd be like, just stop it. Like, let's go and buy food.
Right.
And then she comes and whispers and says, can I please have one for my child? And that was very hard to see. I don't have children, but I cannot imagine what it would be to care for children right now. We've heard of stories of, parents locking up their children indoors when the ice cream truck passes. And we've heard of so many things like that where they're just struggling. So that was very hard. Actually, that day I just came home and I thought, no, this is enough. Like, I don't need to see this much suffering every day,
so that's a negative for you?
Well, it's a negative purely because
You couldn't do much, or is it because...
you just feel so helpless, and you just think, is it because I'm seeing this all the time that I'm now feeling like this? Like, there were days when I just, you're in a brain fog. And I was telling this to my cousin just today. I said, I just go to like a coffee shop and just sit there just going, that was just too much.
Right.
Or when they would run and fight for food. Like, it's a lot. And you still want to help people. You go into areas with high drug and alcoholic issues. And every time we go there, someone says, like a three-wheel drive, or somebody says, and for me, that's just not good enough also, because that's why you should go there.
Right.
There's this cycle. So for me, that's the negative, because it was so hard to watch this all the time. And it's always something, like my partner said the other day, this Maradana community that we support, the leader had called him and said, like just things like that. Sometimes it's easier just to like not see that, go to the gym, get a massage, go to work, come home and worry about your own issues, yell at someone on Twitter. It's so easy.
Right.
Right.
So you feel you're immune to it now?
No, I
Or does it still shock you every
it
day?
does.
It does shock you every day.
It's painful. It's really painful. And I don't want to come to a place where there's like compassion fatigue at the end. With ICU nursing, and this is a thing, like I can see a lot of parallels because you're just so used to seeing things. So when, people are dying or whatever, or you have to do CPR, you're like, oh yeah, it's just another one. And I don't want to come there. I want to be able to be sensitive, and feel for people. And it's not just me. I know that my partner, Gayan and Fazina, they go through their own issues, and and it's not like the crisis isn't affecting us. Like, we have our own problems. I've got my parents back in Kalutara who, can't get fuel, and they're elderly, they've got their own problems. So, I mean, it wasn't this difficult in March, and now we're feeling it, now we're really feeling it.
What's your driving force? What is still, I mean, you brought that up, the fact that, yes, we're all going through it. We're all feeling the crunch at the moment. But what is the driving force for you and the team to still keep going, despite the odds?
A few things. Today, and this really helped me today, this gent called, I hope he's watching. But anyway.
Did you tell him?
No, I thought he watches my social media. Anyway, so he called and he said, hey, I have like an online bookstore and I have 500 books. Let me sell them for you and give you money. And I just thought,
wow,
what are you doing? Actually, and I said, no, I said, and I'm going against myself. I said, no, don't sell 500, sell 100. I said, that's enough. We don't need that much money. And it's like, no, I'm doing this for you. Just send me your account details and I will dump all the money. So just things like that. You know, there are these beautiful, there's these amazing people coming forward. And this is why, you know, when I first started, I didn't have a name for this. So I thought meal, share, meal, community, you know, because I really wanted the community to come forth. I have been a bit, not a lot, but bit against big corporates coming in, and I didn't want politicians involved. So I really wanted the community to support each other.
So you don't want corporates to be part of this?
We do get requests, but it's not going to be a, hey, you know, we're giving a rice packet and my face and your logo is going to be on it. We're not going to do that.
Right.
You know, it has to be.
You don't want pictures taken. You don't want them. If you want them to be a part of it, be a part of it. You know.
Shaq, like that should have ended a long time ago.
Right.
You know, like, hey, not rice packet, dry ration. You know, like that. You know, an X company is coming to support you, and that means everything has to be there. Like, that has to stop.
Right.
You know, it's fine. Like, we do things where we make a small appreciation post and put like a logo and send it out to them. But even if you want to come and visit our communities, do it for a positive thing. Do not come here just because it makes you feel good.
Commercialize the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So, yeah.
All right, so now in terms of the community meal share right now, what type of help are you looking for? Because this is a great opportunity for you to let everyone know what you want. And one thing though, Nadeeka, of course, as far as Sri Lankans are concerned, we are very giving. At the end of the day, you know that, and you've experienced that. Some, of course, would basically give and say, "Don't even mention my name. We don't want to even be any part of it. We just want to help you." Like you said, on the flip side, some would make a big drama about giving, and they want their right smack in the middle of the front page of every newspaper or whatever. We have that, right? But the bottom line is they're giving, is what I'm trying to say. But right now, what is it that you need for community meal share?
Is there anyone good with Excel? You know, no, I'm kidding. Like, you know, I hate formula. So right now, we actually, we get funding through donors, and we're very grateful for that. Right now, what we need is more volunteers. And volunteers who can actually take ownership and do it themselves, because sometimes we find that, look, and it's frightening too. So if a volunteer says, hey, can we come with you on each meal drive? That's great. That's really good, because obviously, it's supportive too, but we just need someone who can say, look, I'll look after this side every Tuesday night. That's what we need. We will even send the food to you, as long as you can distribute it with the community leader, because we need someone from our end just to work with the community leader. That's really what we need. And then we also need people, we get these emails for volunteering, and it's lovely because perhaps people don't understand what we do. They all want to serve food. We don't serve food. We actually go and provide the supplies. But also, whilst it's a nice feeling to serve food to people, there's so much more work that gets done behind the scenes. There's so much,
What is what we want to know?
We make meal calendars. We distribute the food. We speak to all our suppliers. We need to make sure the food comes from the supplier to either us or to the community. And then we need someone responsible to make sure that the food goes out. We don't want to just go to the community leader and say the community leader's having a bad day, and he goes, you know what, I'll just take 200 and give it to my friends.
Right.
We just need people who are responsible, people who are accountable, but really people who can commit as well. So it's not just one day, because like it or not, this is going to last for a long time.
For sure.
And we just need someone to take proper ownership of our communities. And if not, look, we'll keep on doing it too. But we would love that commitment.
Okay, Amanda has a question for you. If I can't donate, how else can I support?
Ideally, you could support us, like I said, with admin work. If you can't volunteer also, though, I understand with the volunteering, there's a fuel issue surrounding it. We will always support you with transport, but I understand the concerns surrounding it. So, so volunteering in terms of food distribution and admin work.
I'm just throwing it out there. You've got big plans for Community Meal Share. You have plans for it to grow bigger and bigger. Sometimes it might not necessarily be volunteer driven.
No, I know where you're going with this.
I'm trying to basically, it's going to be...
I just speak to Fazeen, I'm like, no.
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying, look, if you want to be consistent,
yeah.
If you want to take it out as far as you possibly can,
yeah.
You need full-timers to work on this. Maybe not now.
Yeah.
Maybe not now, right? I'm sure that's got to be a goal down the line for it to work. Because
I know.
If your volunteers don't turn out, that means your project is also going to basically be suffering.
I am still...
Passionate?
Yeah, but I'm also, it's an ethical issue as well for me, because like I said, it's very, they're not corporates that donate. It's people like you and I. Like, I could probably donate 10,000 rupees if I was to donate to a charity. When I donate 10,000 rupees, I really sincerely hope that 10,000 goes to feeding people and not someone's salary.
Right.
So for me,
but what if that someone is actually from the community?
Perhaps, yes. Yeah,
use the community, actually empower the community
Yeah.
to take care of the community through Meal Share.
Yeah, I think that would be such a great idea. I think we'll just have to work.
Yes, like I said, it's not now.
Yeah.
It's not now, because the reason I actually brought it up is because the fact that you and your team have goals and you would want it to grow. We clearly want to see it grow, and we want individuals like you to go out there and help the community. But if it's a volunteer driven, sometimes there might be an off day where you might not necessarily not get as many volunteers as you possibly want. If it grows beyond your means, then it becomes questionable, right? So
look, I think you have a great argument. I think I need to figure it out in my head, first of all, of letting go of certain things, but also, I'm trying to keep it very grassroots, where, the minute you start paying people, I just feel it just turns into something else. Okay, I know you're talking about paying a volunteer from the community. That makes sense. That actually makes a lot of sense. With everything else, I just don't think that we should be paying, there's a 1% in Sri Lanka that's doing well right now. That 1% is really good. That 1% is probably watching us right now.
Right.
And that 1% should be helping out.
Of course.
And that's, if you want to support us, and that there's a 1%, I think, that could volunteer with us. We're all volunteers. Like, I'm not getting a salary, and I just feel that we would progress as a society as well if you recognize that there's a line, and 1%'s on this side, the 99 is here. And it doesn't take a lot to shift the line as well.
Right.
Like, we could all be on this side. But while we're on this side, I think we could just, call me naive. You can call me that.
Right.
But I think we can support each other.
Right. Community Meal Share is not the only meal share that's out there at the moment. There are so many others also.
Yeah.
We obviously want to give a shout out to all of them right now. And so... Just speak to us about them.
So the Samaritans in Sri Lanka, the reason why I actually put these 4 up is because, for me, they stood out. Right. They stepped up to the occasion. Every single one of these charities actually started after March.
Right.
I'd like to say after us, but I'm not sure actually. So all of these people, I know them personally, And they've done so much work in such little time with such little resources. The Samaritans in Sri Lanka, they do a lot of kids meal drives, community kitchens, etc. Then the community kitchen is a +1. They do massive community kitchens for like 1,000, 1,500 people. Rise Up is the other program I was telling you about, headed by Dr. Tara Dimel and Mr. Vijita Nanayakar from Avaya Research. And they're looking after so many kids with meals. And my favorite, though, is the Colombo Meal Drive. Now, that's done by this person I don't even know, but I got to know her through social media. D. Gunasekara, if you're listening, I hope you are. She gets someone to cook. She packs everything, and she does what we do alone. And she, every Monday and Wednesday evening, she spends her entire evening distributing food. And she messages me sometimes, and she's like, hey, look, there's a community, we need to help them out. And I love that. I love that. This is proper grassroots work, and I'm very impressed. She's quite young too, so I'm very impressed by her.
So what happens? What are the possibilities of all these meal share individuals and the institutions getting together for one big meal share?
I think we need that as well. I think and there's no competition because
we
need competition also,
people.
And we need that. And if there's competition, that means more people are being fed.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And I think we just need to work together. It's really interesting you bring this up because we got funds from this UK baker.
Right.
She got together with many charities like this in UK, and it was called the Asian Dessert Box Exchange. And she just found me on Instagram, and she's like, hey, I want to help you. I was like, oh, okay. She said, look, me and my friends, we all have charities. We're putting a few sweets together in boxes and selling. I thought, yeah, that's cute, I guess. So then we got ₹1 million by her just doing that. And it was really lovely to see that because we watched everything happen live, and all these charities came together, they cooked, they baked together, and I thought that's just amazing. So she pretty much fed close to 3,500 people because all their charities got together in UK.
Wow, that's
great.
great.
Which is amazing, yeah.
We're into the final few minutes of the show, believe it or not.
11 p.m., Shaq. I'm like in deep sleep right now.
It's about 8 more minutes to go before we're done with the show. We'll also have the poll that will come up at the end of the show. But what does a shared meal represent to you? Is it acceptance? Is it empathy? To you personally, what does a shared meal represent?
It's acceptance. It's probably empathy. Probably it's acknowledgement. It's acknowledging that we're going to do this together. That we're not going to worry about politicians because we're done with that. We can do this together. But it's also not just about the meal. It's also saying that, listen, in Sri Lanka, we're all about sir, madam, all this rubbish, right? We need to get there too. Where it's not like, the other day I gave food and a lady's like, kaata the chande danne then. I was like, no.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And
so they thought it was a political gimmick.
Yeah. And then this other lady keeps on telling Fazina, you're like a god, like that has to stop. We are so equal. We might be on that 99%. There is a difference, obviously, by pure luck. But it's not just acceptance, it's acknowledgement that, we are struggling, but we'll get through this together. It is that.
What does it mean to the community? A shared meal, what does it do to the community?
I really sincerely hope that it brings them hope. Because they know that every week I won't have to worry about a certain meal for my entire family. I really feel that it's hope. And I always think, look, they probably won't ever recognize us as well one day, And even sometimes when we give meals and then I go down the street, though, we get they're shout, it's really lovely to see that. But, for us, we don't need that acknowledgement from them.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay, so now how can individuals be a part of community meal share? How do they reach out to you? What's available for them to do? I know we went into details, but on the surface, how do they reach out to you, and what can they do?
Yeah. For the donors? Or
Yeah, for
anybody,
donors
anybody.
or volunteers, either way, no problem.
So you can visit us on www.communitymealshare.org. And you can find our contact details there. Our trust account details are there as well. But also, we get people who email us, and it's not for any of that. It's just to say, hey, you're doing a good job, That's enough. You don't have to say that. But,
Right.
it's really lovely to have communication like that.
And in terms of volunteers, what do you need right now, immediately?
We need support from volunteers, like I said, to just drop off the food, take ownership, because if they do that, they can even come back for us. Otherwise, it's a rush. We drop off the food, we say hi, and we leave.
Right.
But if they're there, and if they're there, they speak to people, we can see if they need anything else. And sometimes we do get that feedback. It could be about jobs, it could be about a child's education, books, whatever. But if you have someone to just take over a community like that, like I said, like in the long term, I want to take over a community
Right.
like that, give everything else to somebody.
Have you reached out to the Rotaract Club? Would you not want to work with them?
We've actually had the Rotaract Club support us,
Okay.
again, and it was not on a regular basis, but voluntarily.
Right.
The fuel crisis has been the biggest
Yeah,
issue.
it really has.
Every single time.
Yeah, yeah.
So I got a bike, so I just
Right.
manage it till then.
Okay, excellent. All right, Nadeeka, final few minutes as far as the show is concerned, and I can clearly see that you're very, very passionate about community meal share. You and, of course, your partners involved in this who have actually started it. One final question before we get into the survey. What type of loggerheads do you guys have? I mean, at the end of the day, you all want to sort of serve the community, but there might be certain decisions that A wants to take where B and C do not like it, or B is insistent and A and C obviously do not.
Yeah.
What type has that? You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
What are the problems that you guys have obviously had?
Oh my God, my partner, he wakes up at like 10 a.m. Yes, you.
Oh, okay.
So that is an issue. But no.
Yeah, let's leave domestic issues out.
So, look, it's probably got to do with the whole, are we paying people? Purely because I know Fazina and Gayan, both of them, they can see that I also, I'm just like, all right, we have to do this, and this, and I am a bit of not a bit of a control freak, and I'm like, no, we need to do this, we can't do this, we can only spend on transport and food, and that's it. And they're like, look, yeah, but we need support right now.
Right.
So that has been one of our, things that, and they're doing it out of the goodness of their hearts because they know that I am properly into it, and after Malabar at work, I'd go directly to the communities, and then I'd expect them to do the same sometimes,
Right,
and they've
right,
got a life,
right,
probably more than I
right,
do.
right.
So yeah.
All right, interesting. Anyway, we're into the final minute as far as the show is concerned with Nadeeka Jayasinghe, of course, talking about community meal share, fantastic initiative. Would you not want, around the world, sometimes the US and most of the places, you've got one area, which is the community kitchen.
Yeah.
It's around the block for that area. It's constructed, people come there, it's a kitchen, you're coming there to serve and help. Would you not want something like that?
Yeah, Shaq, that's initially what I had in my mind. When I first started, I told Guy and I said, look, we need to have like a soup kitchen, and then we couldn't do that. We did like this idea though, because we can look after many communities, right? But I would love to do that one day. I mean, I could volunteer there. Again, I can give the Excel to someone else and volunteer there. That would be ideal. Ideal if there's someone out there who can put that together and support us in terms of just listen. We had actually a friend say that we could do it in a container, and we tried to put a few things together. It never came through, but that would be ideal.
Right.
Ideal.
That is where you need that 1% to come forward and help you out.
Yeah. The 1% has money. All you people watching this, you guys have the money, you have the resources, you have everything. you even have the time right now because you can't go out, right? So that's where I need the 1%.
All right, excellent. Just before we are signing off on the show, we just got ourselves about a minute to go. Let's get into the poll that we started off. Do community meal shares strengthen the community? Yes or no? Your options there. WhatsApp your answers 077-669-1590. Everybody watching us on Channel 1 Dialogue TV, everyone watching us on our YouTube platform on PodHub. Thank you so much for sending in your answers. Overwhelming response according to what I hear. And let's find out what the answer is. 90%.
God, I would have been really devastated if they said no.
Yeah.
Because I just thought, who's that 10%?
Yeah, we don't know. We can't reveal those numbers. 90% say community meal shares do strengthen the community, but some guests who've actually been on the show have been devastated with answers of polls that has actually flipped. I think Bhavani was one. She was pretty devastated in terms of fundamental rights, which we actually asked on the show. And she said, we need to do more work
You do, because even I learnt a lot, actually,
Right. Anyway, Nadeeka, thank you so much for being a part of the show. It was enlightening. It was educational. We wish you all the very best. And if there's any way that PodHub can, of course, be a part of it, we'll be more than happy to help you and assist you. And it's been a wonderful chat with you. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And hopefully we'll have you soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thursday is the weekend as far as the crew at PodHub is concerned, because we're done with our shows and we'll catch up with you once again with another great list of guests starting off next week on Monday. Till then, you have yourself a great Thursday night and a great weekend. Till then, have a good night.